Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. Today, we're going to do a 2 day wrap up video of what happened today for November 6th and the 5th, which being Wednesday and Tuesday. Tuesday, November 5th, was the election night where the votes were being tallied up, but they will be tallied up in the Globex section of November 6th. So we didn't do a video yesterday, but so we will take a solid look at that. Video is going to be a bit longer. I don't have this planned or script or anything like that, so I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go. It's a good chance I'm going to be rambling. That's totally fine. But I want to make sure that I get a full understanding of where we're coming from. And I'm going to do somewhat of a deeper dive. Um, Not really a deeper dive, but it's just going to be basically two reviews in one day. All right, so let's get started. So I'm not really sure where to begin. So let's just start off. Where is price coming from? And again, I'll be speaking, and I know where price ended for today, so it's a little difficult to do this objectively. So again, we have our today's candle, which is being Wednesday. We have Tuesday, and then we have Monday. So again, we finished last week. We'll look at the weekly candles. Oh, good Lord. We finished the weekly candle like so, near the 5750s. Again, we're really teetering near these 5724s, flirting with those very much so as we start our daily candles. Sorry about that. As we start our daily candles, we finished on Friday with this green bar here. Still not piercing these lows. I don't believe were they ever pierced? No, they stopped right at it, or maybe pierced it by like a tick or so. Just beautiful. And that was Monday. So Monday we opened just a little bit lower, and we did our review for that day, and you can see how we finished. Ideally, buyers wanted to make a higher low and a higher high, close above this halfway point, which is exactly what they did. Still under the 5 SMA. The sellers ideally wanted to protect their open of that candle and keep price lower. So pretty much of a stalemate with the momentum being in the favor of the bulls. Looking at the NQ, essentially the same situation except a solid reclaim of their 5 SMA and the higher lows just as well. The the footprint, they had about the same amount of volume. We did take note of the very high buying maximum delta. So it's about 15,000 here, about 12,000 here. So you can see sellers were really pushing extremely hard on that Thursday because we made a note about this negative 15K for the delta. And then we saw that buyers pushed extremely hard on the Friday, got stuffed. Monday was just a bit strange. Tuesday, we see that same buying return, and then they finish with 4,600 plus on the delta as well. Nice amount of range at 87 points, and very nice positioning for the buyers. Not really much traded down here near these lows, and the majority of volume was done in the upper half of that bar, completely negating all these sellers that are here, and down here as well. So again, this was very much of a trapping day for the S&P 500. I would imagine same case for the NQ, except even more so. Same story, except the buyers are a little more pronounced on all of these days, but the same situation with the sellers on that Thursday. Those times where we'll say that, sellers had the opportunity to really push it. This was another situation where when what should happen doesn't, I believe is what Peter Resnick says, Resnick says. And there was just no momentum. You can see buyers are here and they're still finishing with the positive delta, making higher lows, really consolidating. We ended up picking a range. We did not break to the downside. We broke to the upside and we closed with very high delta. Volume about average. So I have this composite down from a weekly. Let's see if we can break this out. For this same day, again, we are looking, actually, let me not be confusing. We're not looking over there. We're looking at this bar here. So this was that day where they had the compression. We had the big drop. We had the big drop and then the compression trying to go up, trying to go up. And then that's where this happens. So you can see we have compression, 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 break through those stops. We leave a gap. We leave singles rather. Pull back to those singles and then push back up into these 20K 400s. They're ever so important that we've been talking about for the longest. The 20K 400s are about here. So you would imagine that's where they were headed. And that's exactly where they went. Essentially just pushing out of this zone. Our last review, we mentioned that whatever direction we go from here is definitely going to be pretty explosive. And that appears to be what we got. Again, we don't want to look too much into the future. We'll circle back to today shortly. The violence. Same situation for the ES. Coil in there, those lows. Burst through. And again, this was yesterday. This was at 6:30. So we'll look at the actually. Let's go ahead and take a big break. I mean, we understand this is happening at 6:30, but we need a little more context. Like, what was happening? Like, was it earnings? Wasn't earnings? There was super. Was it super microcomputer? They were after the bell on Tuesday, but really not too much here before the bell on Monday or Tuesday. So I believe a lot of this was just the price action. Because yeah, we had like light data on Monday with the factory orders. Important data was definitely the PMIs and then the ISM services on Tuesdays. So I mean, we'll need to look at the 3 minute bars to see if we can get a better idea of exactly what happened there. But the result was the same, regardless of the reason. They pushed through at the 6:30. They pulled back, did not fill in that gap, and then pushed through and made another gap to close the day, and they closed above that gap. It'd be a little more difficult to see this on the 138 minute candle. I'm not sure exactly where we are, but it should be somewhere around here where we push to the right. We impulse through. We have a slight pullback, create a new. This is actually the NQ, but same theory. Consolidate, pull through. Notice they close above this range, so solid job. Push back below to the top part of that range. Double check. Is anybody else want to be a part of this? And then just completely rocket ship back up. Nice. But again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves there. Same thing for the S&P 500. Coil, they were a little bit of a laggard from what we could tell, where they closed somewhere about there. But same situation, they pulled back to about where their gap was, those singles, and then just pushed through to take out that pivot. All right, looking at the 65 minute candles for Tuesday, a bull flag day, push up, pull back a little bit, push up, and hold. The high of that first hour is about where we close, a little bit above. So again, solid job for the buyers. Key shape the day for the RTH session. More of a trend type day for the S&P 500. So this was like a little bit of a clue. They finished above, well above their high of that first hour of that initial balance. Okay, so we have a lot to cover here, and the fact that the range is so wide, it's gonna take a little bit longer for us to kind of get through this, I would imagine, but let's see. So we have our session for today, and in the overnight session, the Globex, this was the election, and we have the day that we're going to review, which was Tuesday, and then the overnight session. So let's look at this one at a time. We had our drop in the overnight. Hell, what day is this, bro? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday last week? Okay. So we had our drop last week on Wednesday, and then Thursday, that was the RTH drop. Continue with that weakness. Wednesday into the overnight. Thursday with the sell off. Consolidation for Thursday. And it's just Friday, right? Double check. Right. And then this is the push above with attempt to break back into the range of that Wednesday's overnight session and Thursday. Try to push through the prior day's range, and then we ended up filling that leg, closing and making a new low for that Friday session. Friday, Friday we close. Okay, sorry. Friday we close. We open up on Sunday with a gap down and immediately start pushing up, higher low, push up again back into this range of yesterday. This is where we want to be. We're back home. And then as soon as RTH comes, this big range that we've created, we've sold off. And now we're back in the middle of that range. We've kind of seen that somewhat often, which typically leads to some downside in some bearish environments. And then that's where we had the Monday session of the overnight, the push up back into this midpoint, stop out these longs, new leg that falls short, and then Monday with a new leg down lower, weekly lows, seeing what's down here. Push back up to that open, close near the initial balance low, and then that gives us our, actually let's keep this. I like this range. I don't like this range. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm still learning how to use all this, dude. I'm not the most technically savvy person. Just bear with me. We have our Monday. We have our Monday close. We have our Monday night over our Monday overnight session. So we test this prior initial balance low, kind of push up, chopping around this midpoint. We're accepting prices higher, and that's where we end up opening the RTH for yesterday, which is the election day for RTH. So again, we are opening near still these lows. We've been through the sell-off, the consolidation, the push above to break out of this range, and we failed. Brought our way back down, poked through. More consolidation just above, falling through again. Back up into this range, consolidated more, and fucking break out of this range. Okay. We break out of this range and we hold it. Okay, cool. Hold on. So we break out of the range and we're holding. Where are we headed? Boom. We're taking out more of this range within this first hour. So I mean, at this point, when we finish this hour, we're already at 50, 57.95. And if we do just the RTH session, you can see that's well within today's range of the Friday, the Friday session, which was the attempted reversal from that Thursday sell-off. So those same buyers that was here on Friday, they've been stopped out down here. And then this new leg is forming yesterday. And again, this is where we have the election is that night. I'm not going to get into like favorites and everything, who was projected to win, but it seems like I guess apparently like Trump is going to be bullish. Maybe a situation where you like buy the, what is it? Sell the rip. And then if Kamala won, it may have been like more selling. I don't really understand the intricacies between the bond markets and all the treasuries and all that. I'm just focusing on these two products. But my whole point is that the market was extremely bullish. It seemed like anytime there was good news for Trump, it was just more bullish action. So cool. So possibly this has something to do with a Trump victory. Who knows? All we know is that regardless of like whatever's happened in the news, this is a clear trend day. We're squeezing above the 5 smoothing average. We're still squeezing and we close above the 5 smoothing average. There is literally not one trade below here. Our first close was a small leg down to our VWAP. We could not get a green candle on the initial balance high. We could not get a green candle on the VWAP, but we did get a nice down spike, possible continuation, and then a nice thrust upwards to close above. So I mean, at this point, we have a whole ass trend up leg. First pullback is being bought and engulfed, and then we're continuing a new leg to push us through. So regardless of whatever the news, I mean, that just looks like a typical trend day. So again, it's no surprise that we didn't revisit the initial balance low, and hell, never even touched the VWAP for the remainder of the day. We really just hugged this 5 smoothing average for the whole day. So a nice healthy trend. I believe the NQ was strong themselves, but not as aggressive to the upside. They had their gap down on what is this, Friday? Oh, Thursday. They opened lower with that sell off in the overnight session. They opened lower. Same thing on Friday. They only made it to their initial balance mid. Ended up selling off, but they did not break the prior low from Thursday like the S&P 500 did. So while they may not be as whippy and volatile as the S&P 500, you could see some strength here. I do recall that. So okay, cool. So you can see we're kind of curling these lows down here at the bottom. So we have our Monday session. Again, we just close sideways, closing at this midpoint instead of at the low, like the S&P 500. We open within range and gently push through. Very calm. Back above Monday, Friday, and then the half point of this range on Thursday. Okay, cool. So you would imagine we will be headed to start attacking this gap. The high for Thursday for the RTA session is where we ended up closing. So we couldn't make it. You can see they tried. You know what I mean? This shit just isn't happening for no reason. So I mean, they tried here and just kind of hit their head. But cool thing is they still held their nice trend day. Not as strong as the S&P 500, but trend above the 5 smoothing average. First close below. Not really engulfed, but it definitely was attacked. Revisited under here and see what was down, what kind of support was here. They found some support at the VWAP, pushed back up, And they're still filling. They're still filling their sell legs. Why is this not removing? Okay, there we go. Failed high, failed high, failed high. Back to the VWAP. I mean, they're just hugging this VWAP. So wait, it may not be as pretty as the S&P 500, but they had clear support, which is a sign of a OTF potentially. Push it back up, push it up, push it up, and then let it slide, let it slide. Let's just let it slide. Push it up, push it up, push it up. You would expect a potential impulse, which we got here, and then it stopped. Impulse, and then it stopped here. Impulse, and then just like a slow grind again. So again, that tends to be more of like OTF, like some other time frame from what we can see. Um, Momentum traders looking for more continuation. They're not getting it. They're kind of stopping out. Just create this ugly, slow, grindy, short squeeze kind of price action. It's just a little bit ugly. So this just seems like this was just being supported by maybe a short squeeze. This is just weird to see these overlapping bars, but they could not trade below the VWAP. Very important for this day. And then this is when we head into the overnight session. So pardon me. So as we finish these sessions for goodness gracious. Sorry, everything is just incredibly like spaced out. So as we finish this session for 11.5 here and here, how well of a job did the buyers do? We definitely want to give them, a solid job. Looking into the context of exactly how it happened and the reference points that they reclaimed. I definitely wish that I did my homework in full yesterday. I feel like I would have been a bit more prepared and a lot more calm because this was like really apparent that this was buying activity. There was just some nice buying activity, and the sellers were definitely caught off guard. So again, this was a solid job for the buyers for yesterday, which was the election day for Tuesday. Again, solid job overall. Um, and then that'll go ahead and lead us into the next day. So actually, before we get there, we'll give the buyers a for the S&P 500. We'll definitely give them, like a 8 or a 9. The fact that they were able to squeeze people and then just not even touch their levels today. So I mean, that was just like a perfect. If you're doing like a fight at match or something like that, and you get like a flawless victory. That's basically what happened with the buyers for yesterday. And again, all this is for the in regards to the election, or at least that appears what to be what the market is focusing on. The Nasdaq, they ended up getting a 7 or 8 for the simple fact that they had an opportunity to break their prior day's range. Not prior day's range, but their range for Thursday, and they didn't do it. So I just thought that was strange. Yeah, I just thought that was strange. So they definitely had a little bit of reduced points, but that was kind of made up for the fact that sellers couldn't get it below the VWAP. So that's less points from sellers. So at this point, sellers will be off the watch for the narrative. Cool. So we'll go ahead and mark it there. As the election votes started to come in, excuse me, the market closed. Of course, we had like our earnings or whatever. There's no data released for Wednesday. We're going to have FOMC tomorrow, which is Thursday. I was really unsure about how exactly the elections are going to play out, or like if we need to be waiting on something in particular. But the move was just kind of happening gradually. Price was attempting to go somewhere. So we understand where we just came from and the fact that we were pushing aggressively. Where would the market Beheaded, exactly. The fact that we have the election, you really can't tell, but we close around here for this profile. So really at this point, you would assume they will want to revisit this value area high for this composite. So just the high average for the Nasdaq, which is like 20K 600. So about 200 points from where they closed, about 240 rather. So getting up there would be, we're back at these singles are fair game again. So at least that's really for the Nasdaq. That's where they're headed to, like the upside, those singles from the past, and definitely their downside will be protecting the 20K 300s. So we really want to pay attention to see how they trade in the overnight session to see what they protect the singles that they had, which they did, or are we just gonna kind of consolidate? But no, it was a clear trend in the overnight. And then for the S&P 500, they are of course near the all-time highs, or was near the all-time highs. So you would ask, where would they be headed? The fact that they have singles down here under the 5800s, and they closed. Where did they close yesterday? They closed at 5822. So yeah, they were able to break through. They're able to break through this range here. So this is the 5800s. So again, you have the high volume node down here at the 5600, high volume node at the 5700, and then you would assume high volume node at the 5800, which is, you would expect to be more volume built here, but no, this was considered cheap. Pushed through the 5800s and then close at the 5822s. So we're starting to fill in some of this space here at this point. So really anything is kind of fair game. I just was expecting them to kind of eat up some of this zone here and then just essentially just protect their singles. Their singles being the last line of defense for their trend up, which was the 5780s, the 83s, 84s. So we understand where the S&P 500 and the NQ were going and what they needed to protect. Essentially protect their singles in the overnight session, and they really want to eat up some of the bearish territory to the upside. We have our election. Our election, the votes are coming in, and that is when the market opens at 3 o'clock. Might as well just go to the story. This will make a little more sense so we can see this. Let's start with the NQ because they're not as aggressive. So again, we had our close. We had our close above the Thursday session of last week for the NQ. And then we open up. We open up in range. And we're unable to test the prior day's initial balance high. End up pushing up, making a new high above the prior day's range. Notice that we use this for support and eventually having a nice breakout and then a nice trend leg up. And again, this was all during the election as well. So when we opened up at 3 o'clock here, and then all the way until this drop was at 9 o'clock p.m. So that was like 6 hours that had passed, 5 to 6 hours. So, this trend, after making a new low for the first hour, this was just like straight up for 4 hours. A quick impulsive pullback down to the full session VWAP. And we couldn't touch it again. And then just pull back above that 5 smoothing average, having a nice trend leg above. And we just couldn't stay below it. Just essentially just hugged it until we had a nice little trend lower. Tried to come back up. Ended up failing. More of that trend lower. Possibly retesting the full session VWAP. And they failed. Resumed back above the 5 smoothing average and really just kind of coasted in there until we got into the RT8 session. So again, it may not look like much, but from where we closed from the RT8 session, and to where we opened, that was 1.5%. So about 300 points. So a 300 point gap up for the NQ. And again, we held the five smoothing average the entire time until we broke through the full session VWAP, and we only touched it one time, and that was it for the remainder of the session. Yeah, and then that leads us into RTH for the S&P 500. Really the same situation. We opened up, pushing through. We opened up at 3 o'clock, grinding on the five smoothing average and the VWAP. Pushed up, new leg above the five smoothing average, nice leg lower. Still no test to the VWAP. New leg higher. Just really just breaking out. And the range that is being eaten up, I'm switching this to a 5 minute so we can see a little clearer. But that first leg in the overnight session, that got us above that Thursday session. So once we broke out of the Thursday session, oof. Once we broke out of that Thursday session, which is about these 58.50s, we impulsed through, and then we never retested it, which is where that VWAP was. And then really that's it. So again, these are 5 minute candles. I'm gonna switch this back to 3. So again, we're not looking at these specifically. We're just kind of looking at the flow, the way that it's moving. But again, they held the full session VWAP, and essentially just rode this trend higher for the whole day. And then from their close of the prior RTH to where they opened, this was 2.26%, which was 130 points. So again, the S&P 500 was much more bullish. And where did that come from? Well, again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but that was the overnight session. That was the overnight session, and again, yeah, essentially just held that trend leg all the way into the RTH. Okay, take a quick break. Hold on. Okay, so this is where we will start. We give our greeting. We understand where price came from the prior day, and we even looked at the overnight session. So you can see that we started with a very large advantage for the buyers from the yeah just yeah just just wonderful start. You can see that we closed above the prior all-time high for the S&P 500. They broke it and then they closed 30 points higher. Very solid for the S&P 500. And then for the NQ, hey, they are really close to they're really close to their all-time highs. It'll be cool if they could get it. I'll definitely cheer them on. It's good to see our country doing well. So we can see where we are there. Let's look at the monthly count. I'm curious. Because again, remember this was looking pretty bearish not too long ago. And then the weekly candle. This should definitely look pretty familiar. Have a close under, have a trend above this five smoothing average, the red line. We have our close, and then we have our engulfing pattern. That is the weekly. I want to look this on the daily as well. Yeah, once they reclaimed it, pushed through a nice impulse. If we're looking at this on a smaller time frame, we want to see if there's going to be any kind of consolidation, maybe a pullback to maybe like this half point or so, and then see if there's any kind of continuation. Definitely sellers are going to be willing to get out here for sure. Again, there was no data for today. I did fail to mention the PMI and then the ISM services. We'll see if we can take a quick look at that as well. Possibly for yesterday. We'll see. But again, very light on the earnings from all the hell that I know. But anyways, volume was stupidly high. I believe in the election, I think right before the market opened, I'm pretty sure volume was at like a 500,000. So again, this was a good volume day, even without that head start. But we just finished just ridiculously high. So again, the same volume that we saw for this day is about here as well. What brought us down is the kind of volume that got us out of here as well. 153 points of range. Sellers just got whacked. Never had control. Buyers had control the whole time. 22K positive with the delta, the most I think I've seen. Yeah, the most that we have on here. Good lord. Sellers definitely pushed it towards the end, but a lot of that was probably just profit taking or new money shorts. You know, who knows? It's not really our position to kind of guess that. For the NQ, nice volume as well. Same around volume that we saw around that Thursday of last week. 608 points of range. Sellers had control for a little bit at first. That seems to be when the sellers started with the in the RT8 session. There was a lot of selling, which again we would assume that may be profit taking opposed to new money sellers. But you know who knows? But sellers did have control for a little bit. But you can see buyers finish the fight today. Okay, luckily we made it to our sector tracker. So you know I'm always happy to bust this baby out. You can see that we're up 2.5%. Excuse me. Yeah. 2.5% for the S&P 500, with the leader being financials. So again, we've been talking about financials for a while. They've been the ones that's been really important. Uh, they've been leading for this month. I don't think for the year. All right. Oh yeah, they're actually the leader now. So yeah, good job for financials. But again, financials, we've been keeping an eye on them, and it was really good that they were able to really push it through. Everyone, yeah, it looks like the leaders are just really just knock it out of the park today. Technology definitely put a solid job in as well. So when you have your two heavy hitters, technology and then finance, you can definitely have a nice day like this. This day would have been even more so if healthcare was on board. So I think healthcare is showing some mighty fine weakness. The fact that they were down 4% today. So if there's some sort of any kind of weakness in the upcoming days, definitely keep an eye on healthcare. Healthcare may be weak as hell. Consumer staples, people aren't really caring about days like this when, you know, if anything, you're selling money. You're selling some of your resources for you to buy more of discretionary, more communications, more of the banks, more technologies. Hell, maybe even industrials, because who knows what's about to happen. This isn't even bringing up like Bitcoin or anything like that, you know. So just a lot going on. Very nice day for everyone. Looking at the 5 day rolling period, we're just up 2%. So, you know, we want to make sure that we are kind of calming ourselves down. So, while this is extremely bullish for sure, we cannot forget that we are just above we are above 30. We're 30 40. We broke about 40 points of range. No, it's 30. Yeah, we broke about 30 points of range for the. No, it's 40. So yeah, we broke a little over 40 points of range from the highs. So I'm not saying that we're gonna like sell back, get back into this range, but we're only up 2% from I think over the past like 5 days, 2% or so. Okay, so we looked at the footprint. We looked there. Now let's look at the profile. So I've had a very long day and I've been participating in the market, and I'm doing this double whammy today because I don't want to lose the details of what happened um, the prior days. It's really important. I can't be a narrative trader, but then skip the narrative. Okay, so again, we open up above the, well, we have a continuation of the prior day's range. This is the NQ. We open near these 20K 400s. We push through. No kind of retest to their singles, but they did pull back to their volume point of control for the prior day and then pushed upwards, created some singles, pushed through, ate up some of those singles, but couldn't get all of it. Pushed back up, made some more singles. They ended up filling those in and then pulling back from the 1030 highs. The 1030s was last week during those earnings. There was a we made a reference. We said this was going to be like fairly important, but I feel like the market remembers. But this was a very pivotal spot for technology that they failed, and they were able to break above and then pull back into this range and use that form of resistance as support. Push back through. That was enough to make a new high. Trying to get back into the range of prior months of July. That's July's monthly VPOC, so I'm glad we have that listed. So again, it should be a fair amount of people there, or at least interest from the past. Trying to reach back to that point, ended up failing, coming back into this range, and then pushing through that area of interest, and then some singles from weeks and months ago. I doubt these are even like still valid, but it's good for us to have these as a reference. I mean they were never filled, though this is a different contract, but singles nonetheless. Sorry, I had to take a break. So yeah, singles. So again, so they were able to go through those singles and they closed in them. So these can be removed, baby. So those can be removed, and we're still up there too. And we still up there. So don't ask how the market can go. It can keep is yes. That's how high. All right. S&P 500 has been going motherfucking ham. Remember they left their two sets of singles yesterday. They opened up. They opened up, filled in those singles. Not even all of them. That's crazy. Not even all their singles. Pushed through, created some singles. Couldn't fill those in. Pushed through, made some more singles. Couldn't fill those in. Pushed through, made some more singles. Couldn't fill those in. That's fucking crazy, dude. Good lord. S&P 500. Look at the shape of this profile, man. Like I'm in here, like this me right here selling, this me right here selling, and this is me selling here with my funded account today. Cause I got stopped out on my live account. Goodness gracious. I hit my daily loss limit. But anyways, P-shaped profile for both days for here and here. Just ugly, just really jagged, and this is very wide ranging. Remember, this is like 130 points. So 4 sets of singles. Um, damn. That's really all I gotta say. Just damn. 2 sets of singles for the NQ. Still a good job for them. Solid job, but just not as aggressive as the NQ. Sheesh. Okay. Um, we'll look at the NQ. So similar day as the S&P. I mean, actually, oh, okay, yeah, because it's way up here. So I was like, I was thinking, I said, man, this looks very similar as last week. I mean, as yesterday, because it is yesterday. I forgot we're way up here. Remember, we had a 300-point gap. We've already went over the overnight session. We pushed up, inside bar, explosion through, and then just a grind up. So really simple day. You can see sellers were definitely here. They tried, got smoked. They tried, got smoked. They just sat down and just put their hands off the button. Hopefully nothing happened. Got short squeezed. They tried to sell. Probably tried to what is it? Tried to scale in, and then got smoked even more. Because the fact that you had this amount of buying at the close and less profit taken, I don't know. Either that or more people are buying at the close. Who knows, man? But this appears to be a lot of like short covering. Some of that was me too. I ain't gonna lie. All right, and then for the S&P 500, impulse through, compression, compression, impulse through, compression, really compression, just grinding up. Same short story. Getting squeezed, getting squeezed. Okay. We have our overnight session that we already talked about. So you can see where that leads us for the RTH. So again, we have a huge gap. Excuse me, the words are chump, huge gap. So about 2%. So we have about a 2% head start to the upside. A lot of shorts are filling it. You would expect there's going to be all kind of more buying, or people are expecting, hopefully a sell off to close the gap. And we get it. And we get it at first. The first minute is like a complete sell off, and you can see the buyers are really trying to defend them off. Come back to this open, and then you're coiling. Come back to the open, end up falling, engulfing, and then just having a nice continuation blower. Hold on, let's do this. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay, cool. Okay, that's good to know. So yeah, they fell that open, and then they pushed down, close under this 5 smoothing average, push down, push down, push down. They're just really in no man's land for the most part. Where exactly are they headed? They're headed back to those singles. So those singles in S&P 500 that was left, they just tick it. They tick it by. They go through about like a couple of ticks, and then they're safe. And then they push back up and reclaim the 5 smoothing average. Oh shit, we come back down. Maybe we go back down. Maybe they get engulfed, hit these singles. Nope, they get reversed. Trend above, and then we fail the open once more. You would imagine we may make a new low, or at least test this IB mid, have some kind of support. Going back down to this full session VWAP, find some support. New leg, new test off the open. Sellers getting trapped. That's enough to get a new leg, and then we just grind for the rest of the day. And that was really it. No more tests of the VWAPs. No more tests of the full session or the RTH VWAP. No initial balance high tests. That was it. They ended up making a new overnight high as well. And they closed above the overnight high. So again, 10 out of 10 for buyers. Can't say anything else. Yeah, can't say anything else about that. Really about the same situation for the NQ. Except they pushed above. To start their session, tech was a bit stronger originally. Ended up being reversed and engulfed, so possibly an open rejection reverse. We break through the overnight high. We're good. Blue skies. But again, this is why the S&P 500 was selling off as well. They ended up joining the fray, creating a new low under the open, breaking that initial low because you was thinking that this was an open drive. Nope, it's open rejection reverse, and we close under the open. At this point, bear flagging. Push up, engulfed. But they're holding the open. Push through and make a new high, push back to the mid. Grind, and that was really it. And they just grinded for the majority of the day. Oh my goodness, this is ugly in hindsight. I'm so sorry that I put myself through this. This is sad. Ugh, it's like trauma, dude. And yeah, that was really all she wrote. So I mean, open rejection reverse. They ended up being stuffed. No continuation to the downside. pushed to the new high in the C bracket, pushed back down to the VWAPs, to the initial balance mid, pushed up, one more check, and that was really it after this impulse. And that was that. I'll leave the trades of the day. I'll just do this from on my own personal notes. I'm glad I was able to spend some time with this. I don't want to belabor this anymore. But again, we give a solid job. We give a 10 out of 10 to the buyers for the Delta that was up 22K and they finished +9. And then just the volume, the overnight grind on both of them, and the fact that they closed above it and they made singles and then defended them. They made singles and then defended them. And then they did it one more time on top of that. They did it yesterday as well. So again, this is just ruthless aggression from the buyers for both products. So we're gonna go ahead and close it here. I hope you enjoy. If you did watch, it's probably a good chance I just do this for myself anyways, which I love it. And I believe that I'm much more aligned now than I was previously. I had a good understanding of what did happen, but I didn't realize how glaring and how aggressive this was. I would have had a lot more respect to buyers for sure. So definitely a good reminder for me to do my homework every day. And if I don't trade, or I'm gonna be like this. So yeah. All right. So yeah, man. Enjoy your day and have a good night. Please take care of yourself.